sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. And like I said, this one was clear. I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. I had a dream, and I feel as strongly about the dream that I had that Charlie was betrayed by people closest to him. Never ignore your subconscious. That's why I say I pay attention to my dreams.
Have you ever had a dream that...
No, you had a dream. Charlie told you he was... Yeah, Charlie told me that he was betrayed. Charlie was sitting on the patio, and he was eating hummus. He's like, this is the best hummus I've ever tasted in my life. I had a dream. It was so clear. I promise you can actually fact check this with Village Crazy Lady, my girl Mel.
You do.
Loving your emails, telling me about your dreams. People in Turning Point had dreams. Dreams can give you some sort of intuition. And I certainly think that mine gave me a lot of intuition. Oh, the cool kids don't pay any mind when they have a very vivid dream. And Charlie in the dream says he was betrayed. Oh, the cool kid, that's so, haha, it's not cool. I have been having a lot of dreams.
You want
Candace Owens, and to try to paint her as a crazy person because she had a dream. And I'm sticking with the dream. I'm sticking with the dream. But many people actually had dreams, and they email me them all the time. And I had another vivid dream. The dream was so vivid. It was like, if you've ever seen Harry Potter, they're just going on vibes in a dream on the Candace show. That's it. She had a dream, and now she's just blindly pointing the finger at everybody. Tell me who betrayed you. It wasn't until the third week after his death that finally one face came through in this dream. It came through as clear as day around the corner of the restaurant. And it was
you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Sorry, that was a dream that I had.
You should be obsessed with traveling, not just the destination, but the experience of getting there. When you travel with us, you'll feel warmth, you'll feel welcome, and you'll feel watched, because every seat comes with the peace of mind of knowing someone is following you with 2 planes. This is what you can expect when you fly with At Egyptian Air, we definitely never mix up our time zones, flight numbers, or flight time. We know every journey is your personal business. After all, your personal business is our business. Is our motto. Egyptian Air, wherever you travel, we will follow. You should be obsessed.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neiman, aka Good Lawgic. Yes, that was Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech, followed by the modern day version of "I Had a Dream," followed by the actual dream. So there you go. There you go. I thought that's my way. And people think MLK Day is dead. People think we don't observe Martin Luther King Day. No, 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 no. I say no. That's not the way it should be. No, we all need to celebrate Martin Luther King Day, and never let it be said that I am not an advocate of making sure that we follow. Well, yeah, at least the ideals, if not the man, the ideals of that were expressed I guess, and somewhere in that speech, somewhere along the way, he had some good thoughts. He was well spoken. He was a clean cut man. Clean cut. That's how Biden would phrase it, right? He was a clean cut man. I think that's what he would say. That's what he'd say. I had a dream where I was an anime doggo owned by my high school crush. I'm still less crazy than Candace. Really? You were an anime doggo? That's quite the dream. That is quite the dream. Those of you who dream about having an after show, you don't really have to dream. It's actually there in the offing. Tonight's after show, if we get there, after show, which would be for like, I guess members and diggers and followers and stuff like that. I put on Rumble also. That's the way to do it. I'll put on Rumble. I'll do it on Rumble. Rumble, diggers, followers. That's the way to do it, I think. We'll try that out. And that would be on the topic, really, of Erica Kirk's motion to expedite the Tyler Robinson trial. See how we're coming full circle here? Candace Owens having a dream. I got a lot to say about that. That's if we hit our goal, which our standard goal, in case you're new, which I hope you are. I hope a couple of you are new. Otherwise, this whole project is going up in flames. If not, like one or two of you are new. So hopefully one or two at least, maybe a dozen, few dozen. And if you are one of the newbies, please, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you like and subscribe, because otherwise you're never going to find me again. You never will. This is a complete fluke of nature that he ended up here watching this show, watching me do this thing. It's against the wishes of all the powers that be. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to. So yes, what I'm going to basically say is that if you are new, please make sure you like and subscribe. And if we hit our goal, which is 15 super chats, $10 or more, or Rumble rants, or I guess locals, we can count that. Yeah, in that case, hey, presto zingo bammo. Then we hit our goal, in which case we're going to be making an after show about Erica Kirk and stuff like that. So there you go. That's in the offing. That is in the offing. I got like a whole segment that I was like, I'm never going to fit that in tonight, even though I kind of would like to. So I was like, all right, we'll work a little extra if we hit our goal. That's the way. I think that's a reasonable way to work it. It's logical. And this whole show, the objective is to have good logic. So there you go. Anyhow, tonight, my main focus is going to be on the Don Lemon church uprising. Unbelievable, this guy, the audacity, the cojones on this dude is just astonishing. Also, Trump penned a very funny letter. I found it to be hilarious, which has made the left outraged, I say. And it gave me like 2 hours of entertainment, just like basically responding to folks about his letter, because that letter to me was both funny and also the perfect illustration as to how Trump is the greatest president, certainly with respect to foreign affairs, greatest president in history. And I think we would be lucky if we ever come across another. We're never going to see his equal. We will never see his equal. You will not see it. This is the glory days. Okay? Just, you always say like, wow, we didn't realize it was the good old. No, these are the good old days. Okay? You're in the good old days. You don't always know when you're in the good old days. Now we know these are the good old days, because one day, God willing, you should live and be healthy. You're going to look back and you're going to say, our president today isn't as good, certainly on foreign affairs, as Donald Trump, because I don't care who you're talking about, J.D. Vance or whomever. There's no person out there who could do foreign affairs the way this guy can. He's phenomenal. So there's that. And then I also have a little breakdown here on Gavin Newsom facing a $1.3 billion bill because, whoops, some errors in the way that they did some of their things. But I'm going to be covering all of that tonight, coming up over the next, 2 hours we got? We got 2 hours together. You and me, kiddo, stick around, settle in, get your cup popcorn. If you're one of those people who's tucking in for the night, you can sort of lay your head down, listening to the dulcet tones. Tonight, my voice, thank God, seems like it's in good pitch. Listening to the dulcet tones and dozing off, and wherever I end up redirecting you afterwards, suddenly you'll wake up there. I guess, probably, perhaps. We'll see. I'll try my best not to wake you. We'll do a whole little goodbye, baby. There you go. It'll be good for you. All right. Candace thinks MLK dream speech is an actual dream. Yeah, apparently. What is crazy? I know, beautiful messy ball. You think everything Candace has said about the Charlie Kirk thing is has a great deal of legitimacy to it. I understand. I got it. And, suffice it to say, I respectfully disagree on virtually everything she's said about this topic since she started saying it. So, yeah, there's that, I guess. Sorry, Joe, I'm not new, just usually not awake when you are live. Good to see you. Oh, thank you. It's good. It's great to see you, too. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. God bless you. Huge Bears fan. Thad the Man. Incredible game. If you missed it, we had a very rare instance last night. A very, very rare instance where there was a play that happened at virtually the very end of the Rams Bears game last night, where Caleb Williams was trailing by 7 points, 4th down. I think it was 4th and goal, maybe from the 14, something like that. And he ran backwards like 20 yards and threw the ball. They said he traveled 46 yards in the air. He's flying backwards with defenders in his face. He just floats the ball up for a game-tying touchdown. And that was and it was a miracle play. It was a miracle play by a guy who, respectfully, I think is probably a very overrated quarterback, but still a miracle play all the same. And then the Bears lost in overtime. So no one's going to remember it. Nobody's going to remember it. So that's what makes it rare. It's a miracle that no one will remember. To be like, oh yeah, there was that. Oh yeah, that was that play. I know you don't think everything she says is legitimate. I know. When there's so much illegitimacy, it's hard to take any of it seriously. At least from my end. That's where I'm coming from. At least. Candy needs help. Clearly, yeah. I think that's pretty true. I think that's fairly obviously true. All right, let's start off by talking about Don Lemon. I think we're going to start with Don Lemon because let's face it, I don't like my camera angle tonight. I don't like the light. Give me 1 second. I gotta fix this. This is just not going to work for me. I need 14 seconds here. Let me just fix this. That's much better. That's how I like it. Okay. So where was we? Oh yeah, we were talking about Don Lemon and his little church outing, where he and some friends said, "Oh, now it's time for some church chat." So in case you've been living under a rock, Don Lemon decided that he was going to go along with a whole bunch of folks when they were going to disrupt a Minneapolis church service on Sunday morning. That was the plan. That was the plan. He had that was his plan. I'll give you a little bit of footage. I got a lot of footage. We'll start with this clip right here because this is not a bad clip to start with. Oh, that's a little loud. Sorry, those of you who fell asleep early on this show, that I just woke you up. This is in the middle of church. I mean, that guy up front there, this guy here, he's a pastor. He's the pastor of the church, and they're just basically storm into the church in the middle of services. The audacity of these jackasses. I mean, how big a jackass do you have to be to just go in and say, we are bringing our protest to purposefully disrupt church services? They could have done this Sunday afternoon, any weekday. No, they purposely came into this church because they're like, no, you're worshiping and we want you to be addressing, and basically we want to drown you out with our stupid, repetitive chants.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Base pastor basically saying, shame on you.
This is the house of God, and
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that's them deciding, look, we have stuff that we need to talk about. And yeah, they basically and the idiots, you know, mock this. Atheist girl here, prayer not working. Like, wow. Wow. How self-involved do you have to be? How utterly self-involved do you have to be to support this? I mean, they're unbelievable. It's astonishing. So that was the church they invaded. It's really astonishing. It's astonishing yet true. Astonishing yet true. And who was there? It was who was watching this whole thing and following along with this? Don Lemon. Here he is talking to the pastor at the church after services have been disrupted.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
I don't know why the audio isn't in sync with the video, but you can make out that. I don't know. Sometimes that happens.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
No, that's not this way. That's not the way any of this works. That's not the way any of this works. No. It's still a private organization. They have right to kick you out. But yeah. And you can't just walk into any store you want and just start doing that. Similarly, just because it's a house of worship doesn't mean that you can go in there, even though they're generally open to the public. You can't just go in there and do your business. Your free speech is no different from urinating all over the floor. And I think even these chuckleheads would recognize that, hey, if a whole bunch of people walked in and just started taking a whiz on the floor, that you'd have a right to be outraged. It's no different. In fact, it's in certain ways, well, let's just say it's no different. It's really no different.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
Please don't push me, though. You're coming into my church and you're saying, please don't push me, though. What the hell is wrong with you? He's actually giving you his time, which he probably shouldn't have.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love.
No one sane thinks that.
Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked if you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
Unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here. We're here.
Oh yeah, very devout Christian.
Worship. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What do you?
So that was that was the interview there of a very base pastor. I got to be honest. Where were the men? Fathers and grandfathers, big brothers? They should have stood up and said no. That's bothering me. When there's just a horde of people, you're right. I mean, I understand that. I sort of feel as if when people are a little bit cowed when they're in a church, likely that they're not going to. But I agree with you. There should have been folks standing up. There should have been folks standing up. So I want to share with you, just so you can understand where Don Lemon was coming from and potential repercussions that he's facing. They share this as the after and before. I want to do it with the before and after.
Your attention to this man.
This is Don Lemon before, and then we're going to look at the after. We're going to go back earlier in the video because if I skip past the after, it's go to the before. This is before they got to the church. Don Lemon with these folks.
And we all have the address, right?
Yes.
Everybody has the address? Yeah.
So they're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is a secret that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. That is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
So they're giving some critical information, and I'm afraid it's going to get disrupted. Like their plans will be disrupted. So he's trying to make sure that they're enabled to actually do what they're planning on doing, which is to raid a church.
Go. Okay. Thank you guys thanks for allowing me to be here. Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
To see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil
Nakima Levy Armstrong. Okay. That's the name of one defendant here.
rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community. And, we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there. And then we
So who organized this protest is something that you're going to see him dispute. But this protest was certainly arranged purposefully to go to the church. And he knew that that's where they were going.
disrupt business as usual.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the operation again. We're not gonna give any of the information away. But seatbelt. Don't give anything away. But we're doing this clandestine secret operation, and they have found out some information that they want to careful. It's very slippery. Very slippery. They found this operation. They found out some inside information, right? Yeah. And so they're going to. You know where you're going?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, good. But again, this is just the beginning of this clandestine operation that they're doing here because of some inside information that they got. So this is going to be very interesting. But this is this is just very rough, off the cuff. IRL. This is a true IRL because it's not produced. We don't know what's happening. We kind of do, but we don't know how it's going to play out. Right. So we'll get to see some of the
little Swalwell moment there.
What happens after this sort of surprise?
It'd be good if you had your meta glasses on.
Another Swalwell moment.
I do have
inside the building.
I may do that, but I don't know. Can you switch over to my meta? No. We are here now. Do you think if you just have it? I think maybe if you just have it on the church, But if they see me, they're gonna know. No?
I don't. It just depends.
What?
Don't name the location.
I'm not naming the location, but I mean, I'm just wondering if
at
you
some
see
point,
me.
The
folks inside see me.
Are the congregants really on live instead of in service right now?
No, but they'll be like, "Why is that?"
I took that as him saying that he knows they're expecting to happen, but who knows how it's going to play out. I think that's how I took it.
A lemon here.
Oh yeah, Sunday morning
church.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
Like he's. Well, what else? It's Sunday, and we already said the church.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you said it.
No, I didn't.
No,
I did not.
We were saying that church is going on during Sunday.
Okay, that's what we said,
bro. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best thing because we just found out about this morning. I'm just trying to figure out if it's best for me to go inside so I can tell what happened. And then that's what I'm going to do. And can you just keep it trained on there?
You should take.
I'm going to take this off.
We can swap hats too.
I got it. Yeah.
And then you can put your hood on too if you want. Like church.
All right. So that was beforehand. This is him afterwards.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, that's what's her name. Something Hammett,
Harmeet Dillon
or whatever. So
Harmeet Dillon. Yeah,
I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church,
you didn't know where they were going. They gave you their address.
We did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protest at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So that was him afterwards, basically pretending he didn't know anything about it and that he was just following along. So before I go any further, I'm going to ask you, do you think, based on what we've seen so far, that he should be charged with any laws? And perhaps we should take a moment to talk about what laws he could potentially have violated here, what laws are being discussed. One of them is the KKK Act. The other is freedom of access to clinic entrances. Those are the FACE Act, freedom of access to clinic entrances. These are the two statutes that they're talking about. I think it's funny to consider Don Lemon being charged with a violation of the KKK Act, but here we are. So that is what people are talking about. For some reason that's an All right, Second Enforcement Act is from 1871 is the one we want to focus on. So that's this is known as the KKK Act. Second Enforcement Act of 1871. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that any person who, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state shall subject any person to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution of the United States, any such law, statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of the state of the country notwithstanding, that person shall be liable to the party injured in any action at law, suit, or equity, or any other proper proceeding for redress. Such proceedings be prosecuted in the several district or circuit states. That seems to be under color of law, meaning you pass a law that basically is restricting people. But Section 2 is that 2 or more persons within any state or territory of the United States shall conspire together to overthrow or put down the government of the United States or levy war against the United States or oppose by force the authority of the government of the United States. That doesn't seem to be doing it. So, and this is about insurrection. In all cases where insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combinations, or conspiracies in any state shall so obstruct or hinder the execution of the laws thereof, the United States, as to deprive any portion. This was later overhauled and changed. And this is not what I was looking for. Section 6, any person or persons having knowledge that any of the wrongs conspired to be done and mentioned in the second section of this act are to be committed and having power to prevent or aid in preventing the same shall neglect to refuse to do so, and such wrongful act shall be committed, such person or person injured shall be liable to the person injured. So this seems more like it's a civil, it's creating a civil liability. So what happened was when I actually came to this statute earlier, the KKK Act, jump me somewhere else. Let me do this. Let me do another quick search here. In December 1865, in nearly the same time, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery nationwide. A group of former Confederates formed the self-proclaimed self-defense organization, the Ku Klux Klan. Former General Nathan Bedford Forrest served as the first Grand Dragon. And from 1866 onward, Klansmen engaged in a campaign of terrorist violence against African Americans, Unionists, loyal state government agents, and federal officers in the South. Introduced by Representative Samuel Shellabarger, Democrat, of course, of Ohio, the KKK Act, officially known as the Act to Enforce the Provisions of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and for other purposes, was a third of a set of increasingly detailed efforts to curb the violence and protect African Americans and Reconstruction authorities and allies in the South. The modern version of KKK Act 42 U.S.C. 1983 is one of the primary means of vindicating federal constitutional rights against state and local actors, even today. Well, I have 14 U.S.C. 1980. They said 1983. Let's put in 1983 here. Let's see what we got. I want to see that one. 1983. So that's a civil action. Every person under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage, any state or territory of D.C., subject to cause to be subject to any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities, meaning you stand in their way, not allowing them to engage in worship, as long as those immunities are secured by the Constitution and laws. So you're stripping someone of their First Amendment rights, including the right to pray, shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit, or inequity, or other proper proceeding for redress, except that in any action brought against the judicial officer for an act of omission, that's not relevant here. So that is creating a civil action there. And then you have conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. If 2 or more persons in any state conspire to prevent by force, intimidation, or threat any person from accepting or holding any office, that wasn't it. Obstructing justice is intimidating party, witness, or juror. Depriving persons of rights or privileges. If 2 or more persons in any state or territory enter into a conspiracy or go into disguise on the highway or the premises of another for the purpose of depriving, either directly or indirectly, any person or class of persons of the equal protections of laws or equal privileges. So this would seem to apply to someone who I have a First Amendment right to go and worship, and you're depriving me of that. Or for the purpose of preventing or hindering the constituted authorities of any state or territory from giving or securing to all persons of such states equal protection. Or if 2 or more persons conspire to prevent by force, intimidation, or threat any citizen who's lawfully entitled to vote. This is not really relevant here. So this essentially says that The party so injured or deprived may have an action for the recovery of damages occasioned by such injury or deprivation against any one or more of the conspirators. So again, this is all creating a civil claim, right? This creates this 1442 USC 1985 seems to create a civil claim by the attendees at the church against those who came in there for their respective damages. Problem is, you want to establish damages. How do you put a measure on what that's worth? I mean, I guess to the extent anyone was traumatized by it, you can certainly would expect that certain children who were in attendance were traumatized by these events. So potentially that could end up being a significant amount of money. It's a difficult thing to establish. Being objective, there's nothing that's really. I think most jurors would lean towards assuming that there's not a long-term impact of this that would, that would end up leading towards a multi-million-dollar settlement. Just doesn't seem like that sort of thing. And then the question is, where does Don Lemon fit into all this? But before we get to that, let's look at the FACE Act. So this is the freedom of access to clinic entrances. Whoever by force or threat or by physical obstruction intentionally injures, intimidates, or interferes with or attempts to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person because that person is or has been, or in order to intimidate such person or other person from obtaining or providing reproductive health services. That's where it was really starting from. It was basically to stop people from going and preventing women from going to an abortion clinic. That's really what it was about. Or by force or threat or physical obstruction, intentionally injures, intimidates, or interferes, etc., any person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. So that's where we are right here. So whoever is by force, threat of force, physical obstruction, intentional injuries, intimidates, or interferes with, or attempts to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person who's engaging in their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. This seems like this is exactly where we're at, right? So we're using basically by force, because they're using the force of their voices, or they're certainly attempting to interfere with these persons who are lawfully exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. So this seems like these are the elements, right? You have to be interfering. You have to have a person who is exercising their right of religious worship. We have these two elements here. It seems pretty clear. That in that case, if you do this, you shall be subject to penalties provided in subsection B and the civil remedies provided in subsection C. So we're going to have to look at subsection B and C to figure out exactly what these folks might be liable. Penalties. Whoever violates this section shall, in the case of a first offense, be fined in accordance with this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. And in the case of a second or subsequent offense after a prior conviction under this section, you can get 3 years. Except that for an offense involving exclusively a non-violent physical obstruction, the fine shall not be more than $10,000, and the length of imprisonment shall not be more than 6 months, or both, for the first offense. And for the second offense, it's going to be 18 months and $25,000. So it seems as if the penalty here is not anything that's severe. It could end up with 6 months in prison. I don't think you can say there was physical force here. I do think, I think that this would qualify as a non-violent physical obstruction. I think this would qualify as a non-violent physical obstruction. They're screaming to the extent that they're doing anything here, it's a physical obstruction. In addition, the parishioners there can commence a civil action for relief. And they probably could bring a class action suit. But the question you have to ask yourself is, why Don Lemon per se? We know, look, we all understand that Don Lemon is the juiciest fruit, pardon the pun, in this particular story, right? He's the juiciest fruit that you want to go after. But I'll tell you right now that the question you have to ask yourself is, why would Don Lemon be the one? Don Lemon will defend and say, what are you talking about? I was just engaging in journalism. I wasn't chanting. I wasn't obstructing. I wasn't doing anything here. I didn't organize this thing. Other folks organized it. They told me about it, and I went there and documented what was going on for purposes of journalism. So I wasn't a participant here. Do you think that that defense, given everything we've seen, holds water? Or do you think that that's empty? That's where I want to start. Do you think that that's legitimate defense that he has? Does Erica request look funny to you? Does to me. I have to cover that if we get to our show later on. John Mosley wants me to look at 18 U.S.C. 242. It's possible I got the wrong one. I don't think this is right. Deprivation of rights under color of law. Under color of law means that you basically act like you're a cop and you're not. Whoever under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any person to any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, district, deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities. How would you call that under color of law or color of statute? I guess under color, they are coming in under the color of First Amendment constitutional rights. They are coming in under that. That's an interesting argument. So if they come in protected or secured by the Constitution, shall be fined under the title of prison not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results, still you're talking about a year. If they have the attempted threat and use of any dangerous weapon, explosive fire, they'll be fined or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. But I don't think there's any claim of them threatening to do that. So we're still looking at a year either way. Either way, we're looking at 6 months to a year max. So I'm curious whether you think that this should apply to Don Lemon, or can he legitimately say, I was documenting it as a journalist? I should check out what's going on in the ghetto. Oh, and the ghetto is going nuts here. Uzelian says, Joe, this will change stuff for some people. Don Lemon is cooked and these people are gone. He and his crew knew they were going to a church and shared with me here this link. I don't know what this link is. But we'll check it out real quick. Warning, there's a creepy looking dude in this picture, in this image that's starting with here. This guy here. I don't know what this is about.
Look at this wee man. Look at this. Look, laughing, jokey, funny stuff, right? Haha, Don Lemon, you fucking retard. Ha ha ha. And then it all becomes real whenever you see this kid's face. You see this dad trying to console him. Right there, that's one of those instances where it's like, what radicalized you? This fucking photo did. it's this little man's world, right? It's his daily schedule, you know, family outings on Sundays. His world is safe and he knows how it works. And all of a sudden you've got these narcissistic, suicidal douchebags who don't care. In fact, worse than don't care, according to Don Lemon, want to traumatize this kid. They want to scare him. They want to make all these innocent people feel uncomfortable. It's not that they don't care that they're affecting people in this way. They're fucking trying to. And this is absolutely fucking reprehensible. This image right here with this poor fucking kid and the dad doing his best to make sure he's okay, making sure he feels safe. This should be enough to make people stand the fuck up and be like, do you know what? You're done. This moral posturing, pretending to be the good guys, the virtuous, you are all snakes and demons.
So that was Goth Daddy, I guess, Jake Monroe. He's right. He's right. I mean, just look at that picture there. I mean, what are you doing to this poor little kid? Here's the thing also. This is what makes it so poignant. The parents take their child here where the objective is this is supposed to be a place that feels nurturing and safe. So when you take this, when you march in there with these kids and trying to freak out these kids in an environment, I mean, this is the generation, which is all about the safe space. You specifically go into a place that's designated purposefully to be a place where folks feel safe. They feel like they're home. They feel as if they are, you know, in their most spiritually intimate. And they want to share that with their children so that their children grow up in an environment where they will be recognizing and embracing their faith. And you basically turn it into the stuff of nightmares for those kids. You think this kid's going to want to go back to church? Of course not. Of course not. And that is the goal. And that's why this is demonic. This is sickening. I didn't see that image. That is sickening. These people are sick. Like and this is, it really does tell you everything about the left. This picture right here tells you everything about the left. That this is what they wanted. This is something that they consider to be a heroic thing. This is something that Don Lemon says to the guy who did this, who was screaming at this thing, thank you for your service. As we'll see soon. For the service of terrorizing this little kid. I mean, how demented do you have to be to think that this is something that is in any way not evil? You have to be really, really demented. Really, really just sickening. Yeah, you see this image, it really calls to mind what Erin was saying here. They should have gotten up and punched him in the face. Because they're basically, it's an assault on this young boy's mind. It's a purposeful assault on this young boy's mind. And frankly, there should be extensive damages for every one of these kids. This is not something that's like a couple of $1,000. This is something that could be like serious amount of money. I mean, this picture right here. That's what you did. Awful. Awful.
Look at this wee man.
Really, really awful. Thank you for sharing that, Uzelian. Beck says, kudos Don Lemon for documenting his own federal crime. Yeah. And he also says, juiciest fruit, LOL. Okay, here's another 10. Thank you. If you're trying to keep track as to like where we're at on this whole thing, that's 3 $10 rants pushing us toward our goal, pushing us. So it looks like we only had 3 in YouTube, but in my books, we have 6 already. This is video of Don Lemon shouting "ICE out," so he was participating in the protest. There's video of there is video of Don Lemon shouting "ICE out," so he was participating in the protest. Well, that would certainly be harmful to him. Yes, it's a felony, and all those people won't be able to get to be voters. They'll go crazy. That is true, but they'll just take someone else's name. Andrea Burkhardt says Erica's motion is normal under Utah law and showed the legislation. I'm trying to stay up for post coverage. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Actually, your post, I think, on this thing is what called my attention to Erica's motion. So thank you for that. It should have turned that scene. It should have turned to that scene from Extraordinary Gentlemen. It should have gone very. Should have gone serious. Really should have. And here's Keith Ellison telling Don Lemon, "Oh, you're totally fine. Everything you did was fine."
The protest is fundamental to American society. This country started in a protest, and it's freedom of expression. People have a right to lift up.
Okay, I need to explain something to you. The Supreme Court, when it comes to issue of protest, has said routinely, and this goes back to long before I was a lawyer, okay, that protest is allowable dependent on time and place. You cannot just protest wherever the hell you want. You can't march into a movie theater and start screaming a protest. Nor can you do it in just some bar or wherever the hell you feel like you want to do it. It's time and place and manner. Time, place, and manner are all factors which weigh into the legality of it. You don't have an unfettered right to just start protesting wherever the hell you damn well feel. And this clown, who's the chief prosecutor in the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, most crooked, sickening dude. He's all in with the Somalians, this guy. This guy is standing here saying, oh, yeah, right to protest. Basic First Amendment rights. Yeah, their First Amendment right of a right to of freedom of religion trumps your stupid protest, particularly when they're in a place that's designated for practice of religion.
Their voices and make their peace, and none of us are immune from the voice of the public. So I think that you got the First Amendment, freedom of religion, and the First Amendment, freedom of expression, and I think that it's just something you gotta live with in a society. The protest is
something you just gotta live with. They have to suck it up. That's what this jackass is trying to say. He's trying to say, oh, yeah, those church parishioners,
fundamental.
They just got to suck it on up. Unbelievable. That's the state government. That's their take on this. That's the state government's read on this situation. I had here, I don't know if I saved. Here's one other interview that Don Lemon did on the day of.
These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. This is a house of peace, and we try to proclaim that. And this stirs division and rancor. And in the end, it's not helpful. Ultimately, I believe they've lost. They've emptied a house of worship. Everybody's gone home. Their point has been proven worthless. And so, in the end, I think they lose. But more importantly, if I was to break into any of their houses uninvited, cause derision and upset according to their values, I would be kicked out ultimately. It's not a good way. I feel violated. I feel interrupted. I feel angry.
May I ask you something? When you were saying if you had showed up at their house,
They're saying that people are showing up at houses where they're citizens, without due process, and break.
That's not this guy's business. You don't have to make it my business when I'm this. What a jackass! What an utter jackass Don Lemon is. He's trying to convince them that they have every. Oh, this is totally right because there's injustice out there in the world, according to these very fine people.
Breaking and entering the house. One that we saw, I've been watching from New York, with a battering ram into someone's private property.
Who the hell cares? Who cares? How is that relevant to this guy? Or all those parishioners? How is any of that relevant to them?
And there's no recourse. There's no, you understand what I'm saying?
This is all part of a much larger dialogue, in my opinion. On one side are people who watched a previous administration bring 12 million people in over the course of 4 years, and many of them undocumented, many of them criminals, etc. This is another administration's corrective. Now, whether you agree with the policies or procedures, I think I could actually be sympathetic to some of the things where there have been challenges to action and decency at the same time.
It's nice that he managed to get on camera all of the offenders. It's nice that it's like, let's document everyone who is here. That's a good thing.
These are what are called targeted interventions by ICE to keep the American people safe.
If I respectfully may interject here, I've been out reporting on a lot of these, and they're not targeted. There are no warrants signed by a judge. Let me finish. And they're American citizens, many of them. Most of the people that they detain don't have criminal convictions or criminal records.
I'm not going to get.
Who the hell cares? It's like just, you're so stupid. This guy is just like, he's the turd in every punch bowl.
Get into the weeds.
But you should know that, though. Don't you think that's part of it?
Yes.
So if I go to your house and I just like take a big fat dump on your couch because I'm upset about the way things are going with ICE, so that's okay too? That's okay too? You're stupid.
And I could also show you many
like literally like typical Don Lemon doesn't listen to a word this guy is saying. He's like, you don't come into our house and do this. He's like, but people, there's injustice. Oh, okay. He's like, you wouldn't like if I came into your house and did it, but there's injustice. Oh, okay. So what if I came into your house and I basically just started taking a whiz all over your couch? Started screaming, F your couch.
Opposing sides where we're also picking up the very criminals that have put Americans in danger. And I'm not saying it's pretty. I'm not saying it's not messy. I'm not saying it couldn't be better. I'm saying this is a part of a much larger dialogue in which one administration caused a great deal of chaos and havoc and danger for American citizens, and another is trying to correct that.
Do you believe that? Why honestly,
okay.
Let me talk to you
Listen,
just on the facts. Yes, I am. I want to give you the facts.
No,
you're not a journalist. Dude, you're not a journalist. You're an advocate posing as a journalist.
Did you know that undocumented people and immigrants commit far less crime than...
That's not true either.
Than American citizens?
That's not true either. In fact, they actually commit far more crime. First and foremost, every one of them is committing a crime when they come in here. Second of all, you don't document violent crimes anymore, so how would you even know? And third of all, when you consider how they're taking from our government, you're just an idiot.
We're done here.
Then natural-born Americans. You won't listen.
If you could ask,
I'm giving you the facts.
Yeah, we don't want to listen to you. You weren't supposed to be here. No one wants to listen to you. You knew no one wanted to listen to you when you first walked in here. That was why you walked in here in the first place. You walked in here because you knew no one wanted to listen to you. So you said, oh, I'm going to make sure that you listen to me, that you're going to go listen to me because what I have to say is so damn important, even though it's stupid and retarded and self-defeating. What I would say is so stinking important that no matter what you're doing, even if it's something that you consider to be perhaps more important than anything you else do during the week, I'm going to go there specifically and make sure that you can't engage in that. And now I'm going to keep trying to talk to you because this is just so stinking important. You are a freaking dunderhead. You're a moron. He just told you. He gave you an answer to this stupid question. You incompetent boob.
It is. Give me facts. I would have a conversation. But I can respond to you. No,
did Jesus stand with the oppressed?
Because he doesn't want to listen to facts. That's the interesting thing about this is that they won't listen to facts.
The interesting thing about this is that you cannot read a room. That you purposely went in there and basically farted all over the room, and then you're like, wow, why is it people don't want to smell my farts? You went in there farting, intending, hey, I'm going to gas up, I'm going to eat as much chili as I can, and I'm going to basically just go walking all over the place, farting here, farting there, just farting everywhere. That's what Don Lemon decided, his little crew here decided that they're going to do. And then they're like, wow, why isn't no one wants to smell my farts? It's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Disgusting human being.
No. You won't because
when you pose as a journalist,
I am a journalist. Journalist gives facts, and then you start correcting.
No, journalists don't give facts. Journalists investigate, find things out. You don't even know what a freaking journalist does. This guy was spent years on CNN.
Me with facts and don't have. You shouldn't hear the facts. Of course, I should hear the facts. Who are picked up. But will you give me the facts on both sides? That is the facts on both sides. Most of the people who are picked up and are detained are not convicted. They have no criminal convictions. They have no criminal record. None. That immigrants commit far less crime than native-born Americans. So they won't listen to the facts. Anyways, these folks are still out here.
Yeah, they won't listen to facts. Does the fact that Don stood to profit by this bring to another level of legal jeopardy? We're going to talk about that. We're going to hear from the prosecutors on just that issue. I told you, we're spending a while on this one. Other sections that can apply to Lemon, 18 U.S.C. 241, 247. You already covered 248. 18 U.S.C. 241. So let me try pulling that up real quick for you. We'll try to be thorough. Our attempt to be thorough. I got so much work to do tonight with you guys. I have so much for you. You're making me do homework in the middle of the show. 18 USC 241. Conspiracy against rights. It's another federal civil rights statute. Okay. Unless with let's pull this up here. You say 241 and 247. All right, so 18 U.S.C. 241 is the statute makes it unlawful for two or more persons to conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person of any state in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured by him or her under the Constitution. Punishment varies from a fine or imprisonment of up to 10 years. Oh, now we're talking. Now I gotta find the actual statute because up 10 years is probably if you have weapons. Let's see what 247 was. Church arson, intentional defacement, damage, or destruction of any religious real property. I don't know that happened. That there was actual destruction of the property. But section 2 is intentional obstruction by force or threat of force or attempts to obstruct any person in the enjoyment of the person's free exercise of religious beliefs. So that's section 2. That does seem to apply. If the intended crime is motivated by reasons of religious animosity, it must be proven that the religious real property has suffered sufficient connection with interstate and foreign commerce. If it's racially motivated, there's a requirement to satisfy the interstate foreign commerce clause. All right, let's see here if we pull up a little bit more. This is 241. If two more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured under the Constitution, so including First Amendment right of freedom of religion, they shall be fined in this title in prison not more than 10 years or both. Interesting. And if death results from the acts in that case, whatever. So this doesn't seem to have any right place Constitution, or because it's having so exercised the same. Okay, this actually is a good find by you, Economath. This one I missed, and I appreciate you calling this to my attention. 18 U.S.C. 241. If two more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States. They're trying to oppress that kid. That's what they wanted to do. Okay, that's now a serious crime. Talking 10 years, that's a serious crime. Let's see, 240. I think 247 didn't seem like it was. Damage to religious property. I didn't see anything showing that there was damage. But I think Economath here really with 18 U.S.C. 241. That seems like the most serious one there. By the way, give the people By the way, people give shekels in locals. They do. Ooh, look at that. We're gonna blow the horn for this one. J.H. Schwalbach saying, I have a dream. And it involves Gal Gadot. And I keep yelling, Wonder Woman. She's a wonder, Wonder Woman. He didn't write that she's a wonder. But what does it mean, Joe? What? Clearly it means that you're a very handsome individual and that it's her way of trying to reach out to you. Same way Charlie Kirk is trying to reach out to Candace Owens. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to go try talking to anyone else other than someone who no one believes. So I'm go to you. I'm not going to go to district attorneys. No. I'm going to go exclusively to you. I'm going to come down from heaven in the form of a dream and talk to you, Candace Owens. I'm going to haunt you day by day like that. Like I'm Patrick Swayze from Ghost. I'm just going to keep coming back to you and saying, my murderer, I was betrayed by my murderer. And she's like, and apparently Candace Owens is freaking Whoopi Goldberg here. And he's haunting these trains. Candace going to be having these different seances. We call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you, Charlie. We call upon you. There you go. I guess. So that's probably what it probably means that Wonder Woman, much as Charlie Kirk is coming to Candace Owens in dreams, so too it's almost certainly it's Gal Gadot's actual spirit trying to reach out to you. You should definitely call her. She's waiting. Freebird 611 says, watching on Rumble, but I tip here. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. I appreciate tips wherever they come. Hey, Jim Tells You has rated this stream. Welcome all you Jim Tells You people. Please make sure that you like and subscribe while you're here. Rosalind says, Joe, 18 USC 1952. Everyone wants to school me on the law tonight. That's good. That's good. I want to be schooled. School me harder. School me harder. Racketeering? I can't take you seriously. I can't. Come on. Whoever travels interstate or foreign commerce or uses the mail facility in interstate foreign commerce with intent to distribute the proceeds. What? Whoever travels interstate foreign commerce, well, we're not in distributing proceeds of an unlawful activity. We're probably not committing a crime of violence, because I don't know if there's establishment of any violence here. Promote, manage, and establish, carry on, facilitate the promotion of any unlawful activity. So I guess that'd be under 18 U.S.C. 241. And thereafter performs or attempts to perform an act described in paragraph 1 or 3. Well, he certainly traveled interstate. So you want to say, for the purposes of engaging in unlawful activity. You know, Trump sent out something about how, you know, a bunch of women who were standing outside a clinic ended up getting like 80 years for like protesting improperly by an abortion clinic. So maybe this is how they ended up doing it. They certainly didn't do it 1 year at a time. I don't know. I think that there's still an investigation going on. It's an interesting statute you got there. It's an interesting one there, Uzelian. Maybe. I won't. At first, I was cynical, but maybe. I meant Kingsman, not the League of Extraordinary Men. Gentlemen, this church scene was amazing. Amazing. ICE gave local officials a choice. Cooperate and give us the worst, or don't cooperate and we'll come in against every unlawful immigrant we find. Yep. The time for following the law was ended in 2016 when Obama refused a peaceful transition by ordering the truth be altered. Well, we are the law now, right? I mean, Trump is the law now. So they stopped following the law a while ago. And I think he definitely was trying to upset the apple cart in that transition. Sadly, we didn't appreciate just how successful he was in that regard. Thank you so much for the tip, Wyoming gal, pushing us closer toward our goal, as is Brian Oldenkamp. God bless you both. Malcolm McKee, member for 22 months. You know who would really school people on the law? Phoenix Wright, ace attorney. We're lucky Don Lemon's too dumb to consider retaining his services. That's true, Malcolm. Man, I wish I could learn more about this Phoenix Wright guy. He seems awesome. If only they made some like game you could play where you could like pretend that I was Phoenix Wright. I would feel so much better about myself. If only. One day maybe they'll do it. All right. We should start talking about the law in this whole situation. Although, and we can start with CNN, which even CNN has to admits that there could be some legal problems here. There could be some legal problems here. These guys might have crossed a line that you shouldn't have crossed.
Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on social media and appeared to call this the intimidation of Christians, saying, quote, if state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. So what is the law the DOJ could use to prosecute these protesters?
Well, interestingly, it could also sort of fall under the civil rights category as well. Which
is Harmeet Dillon's realm.
The rights of these individuals in the church to practice their religion are being impeded by these protesters. And so the Justice Department could potentially look at whether the activities these individuals are engaging in goes beyond what there would be their protected activities. You know, this all comes in the environment, Pamela, of the court order that was issued by a federal judge in Minnesota last Friday, limiting activities that ICE agents could do with respect to protesters. Justice Department now, it sounds, is coming down with a different way that they want to engage in protection of civil rights, protection of First Amendment activities in particular.
And again, First Amendment activities give protesters the right to make their voices heard peacefully.
How stupid do you have to be? Not anywhere you damn well please.
Assembly, right? On public property, but it's different when you get into private property.
It's different on private property. This is their First Amendment right to engage in their religion. The protesters, are allowed to engage in their activity. But yes, private places have an ability to not have that type of activity in their place. And the question that we're coming to is
And here's the thing, based on the video we saw earlier, we know that they were purposefully trying to do this covertly, right? I mean, he was like, I don't even tell you what address we're going to because we don't want it to be disrupted. Meaning they knew they stupidly, these idiots, including and especially Don Lemon, displayed the mens rea, that they know that they are not going there to worship, that they're not going there and participating, that there's an intent to disrupt, and that people who will try to stop them from disrupting. So they're displaying their intention. And that could end up being a very critical nugget leading toward a conviction on one or multiple of those crimes that we covered so far.
law enforcement going to protect the rights of protesters to engage in their First Amendment protected activity, at the same time not be intimidating other people for whatever rights they are engaged in?
So, and the DOJ is investigating. That is happening. So let's hear a couple of clips about that. We'll start with Todd Blanche. He's the Assistant Attorney General. He's hopefully the backbone behind Pam Bondi.
Bids damaging such facilities and churches. We did see a lot of people, Deputy Attorney General, under the previous administration who simply prayed outside of abortion clinics, prosecuted under the FACE Act. So this now, you're suggesting, also has an application to places of worship, as we just had up on the screen. And what would be the potential punishment for any of the people involved in this?
Well, it's a crime, and so they will face a jury. If they're convicted, they will go to prison. And you're right, the FACE Act has been abused by administrations over the years. You're absolutely right. But when you look at what happened yesterday,
and here's the interesting thing, they always talk about the siege on the Capitol. This is in many ways a far worse siege, because a house of worship is not a place for politics. You're bringing it where it does not belong. You're purposefully bringing it where it does not belong. The J6 protesters were bringing it precisely to where they felt that the issue was at hand. So they went to the people's house and said, we are the people. And this is not a house that's intended to serve as a house of worship to God. That's the objective. That should be inviolate from being infested with this vermin who want to introduce politics. It's a far more egregious offense.
yesterday, you know why that law was passed, and we're going to use it for the reasons that it was meant to be used for, which is to stop this type of conduct. And again, this should not, every single American should be enraged and heartbroken at what happened yesterday in that church. People going to worship and they are stormed by anti-law enforcement, anti-Christian rioters. And the response that you get from city leaders, today the governor just throws his hands up and says, oh, I've always said you should peacefully protest. That is just completely made up. You can listen to what that man has been saying for the past 3 weeks. He has not been encouraging people to peacefully protest. He's been encouraging people to do exactly what they did. And what happened yesterday is a consequence.
This jackass over here is all over the place and purposefully trying to troll. This guy with the beard. And intimidate. Look at him using his size here, trying to intimidate an old man. A big, strong guy. Oh, you're so brave.
Of the governor's words, period.
Screaming at this guy's face. What an a-hole.
The disgraced former CNN host Don Lemon was part of the crowd that went into that church. He's suggesting that his interviews and cell phone video were part of journalism. There has been some suggestions as well that the DOJ would look at his behavior in that incident. He doesn't get a get out of jail free card because he's self-described as a journalist.
No, the freedom of the press extends to a lot of different areas. It does not extend to somebody just trespassing and being embedded with a group of rioters and being part of the group that storms inside of a church. So as our Assistant Attorney General said yesterday, we are absolutely investigating that conduct. And the fact that man, that Mr. Lemon thought that was a good idea to do that and then to race away from it saying it was freedom of the press. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
So there you go. That's Todd Blanche weighing in on this. Am I being unruly? And is that the reason you're skipping my... I didn't skip any of the super chats. Maybe you walked out when I covered them. I don't think I skipped any of them. You sent 2 earlier. First one here I said is that would be part of the follow-up show if we get there, which we're actually doing very well on that. So there's a good chance we will. As far as Erica's request, I haven't looked at her motion per se. I saw the cover page of it, and I thought the notion of a private citizen seeking that relief was very interesting. But I can't. But if you're talking just conceptually, that's pretty much that's what the after show would be all about. So that's why I skipped past that one. The second one over here, this one I also covered. So, and I agreed with you that I already agreed with you on that, Dick, that was anything but a peaceful transition. So I'm sorry if you felt I gave you a short shrift. I certainly wasn't planning. It wasn't my intention. And I've been chastised about that in the past. Matthew Felty, Don Lemon, Maxine Waters gave critics ammunition. CNN video, April 20, 2021. I think he's asking me to pull this up. Let's see if I can do that. Don Lemon, Maxine Waters. April 20. This would have been shortly after January 6th. I'm getting here unable to load video. CNN host Don Lemon said anyone with half a brain knows that California Congresswoman Maxine Waters was not calling for violence in her remarks at a rally in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. In an interview over the weekend, Waters was asked what people should do if there isn't a guilty verdict in the trial of Minnesota versus Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer on trial. Yeah. We got to stay on the streets. We got to get more active. We got to get more confrontational. We got to make sure that they know we mean business. Yeah. Republicans chastise her. But speaking to Wolf Blitzer, Lemon calls Waters a sharp-tongued, rabble-rousing lawmaker who makes a lot of people uncomfortable. However, she's also made clear he didn't think she was advocating for violent behavior from angry Americans. Always giving cover, this jackass. Worst journalist, and six-time winner, worst journalist of the year, Don Lemon. Keith Ellison, Minnesota AG, said it's free speech. Someone should tell him he's acting like Dixiecrats, not protecting black churches. You would think that. But I don't think that this is considered black church. That's why he doesn't care. JH. My wife just laughed her ass off at what you said. She said, I'm too good for Gal. My wife is all I need. I agreed. Wise move. Wise move. And thank you, Joe, for saving my marriage. I won't be contacting Gal. Her job as the next prime minister of Israel is more important. It's good that you're leaving her be. It is. She has to do that. And you should be tending to your phenomenal wife. So this is who obviously has sense of humor and good taste. Both in selecting you and in laughing at my humor. So there you go. You know, she's twice proven a winner. Is this like story time? I like stories. I hope it's a good tale. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're referring to here. Is what I said this 3 minutes ago. I'm not sure what it is that I'm missing. But thank you for the super chat. My apologies, sir. I missed you cover my second. We're good. We're good, brother. We are all good. And yes, Janek, it is time, place, and manner. You can't say that often enough. Time, place, and manner are the key to your First Amendment right for freedom of assembly. Time, place, and manner. This is 12. Liz, don't throw 100. 3 10s will do, or others. Thanks. Phew. Phew. That was a close one. Oh my God. Before we get to Harmeet Dillon, let's go to Harmeet. I got a bunch of clips with Harmeet.
We will pursue charges in this case. I see various crimes that have occurred. Exactly what they are, I'm not going to flag, but the FACE Act has been mentioned as one of the predicates there. In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred? Was there a use of the wires or the mails in preparing for this event? Did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential.
Almost certainly. Don Lemon crossed state lines for this. And what we're going to touch on here, one of the things that Amazing Disgrace asked much earlier was, does the fact that Don stood a prop by this bring another level of legal jeopardy? There's another thing we should consider also, which is, why are they doing this? Why is he being called in? Let's think about this for a second. Why are they informing him about this? Why is he showing up there? It's specifically because if you're hosting a protest, what is your objective in the protest? Why are you doing a protest? The reason you're doing a protest is you're looking for attention, right? You don't want to be standing on a corner by yourself, screaming with no one listening to you. The point to a protest is you want to try, and you saw how Don Lemon himself seemed to be trying to urge people to be joining in the protest, to be outraged. In that sense, he sort of transitioned from whatever status as journalist into advocate for the cause. Right? He's sitting here trying to convince that older gentleman at the end, in the last video we watched of him, where he's trying to convince him that these protesters are right. That, are you aware that illegal immigrants engage in less crime than American-born citizens? Why are you sharing that? Try and claim that that's in the interest of journalism rather than trying to advocate for their cause is kind of ridiculous. So perhaps his incompetence as a journalist we could cover, saying, no, that's how I journalize. That's how I'm a journalist. I just suck at it. Maybe that would work for him. But at a certain point there, he seems to be going into becoming an advocate. But another point that you can raise with respect to trying to prosecute him is perhaps they don't do this, but for the fact that Don Lemon is there. Maybe he is the reason that this entire protest happens, even if he's not the one who's orchestrating it. He mentions in the first video we were looking at, or this first or second one, the involving Don Lemon, he mentions how that woman who was there with him is one of his Friday. She joins his Fridays. She's a self-proclaimed activist, an attorney who's a self-proclaimed activist. And he mentions how she's a regular part of his show on Fridays. So it seems as if, almost certainly, this was a situation where they were like, hey, we want to do a stunt that is going to have a lot of coverage, and your show would stand to gain from covering it, and we would stand to gain from having the coverage. It would just bring more attention. One of the things that people have been talking about, how, whatever we're seeing from these rallies, they're a smidgen of what there was during the George Floyd rallies, likely because of the weather in large part, also because it's not quite as sympathetic as a cause as George Floyd. You're standing up for hardened criminals who are here illegally. It's not quite as sympathetic as standing up for 13%, purportedly standing up for every black person in the country. So it's not quite the same sex appeal, this cause. So they're trying to figure out, how do we gin up interest? Well, Don Lemon covering it is going to gin up interest, which now all of a sudden this makes him an intricate part. It's almost like performative for his show. And if I was prosecutor, that's one of the things that I certainly would be throwing out and naming this conspiracy, where the lead co-conspirators here would be Don Lemon and his Friday side chick there. That the two of them are basically organizing this for the purposes of ginning up interest in both the movement and his show. They're working in concert together. She seems like she's one of the heads of this organization, and I would throw in any other heads of the organization and tack them on as the chief architects of this whole thing. But it seems as if, let's say he didn't have a show, let's say he didn't have a podcast, maybe they don't do this thing at all. Maybe this was all performative for the Don Lemon show to help gin up his ratings, which I'm sure suck. He certainly has gotten a lot of attention since Sunday. So in that sense, this entire ordeal may have only happened because of Don Lemon. Even if he wasn't the one who planned it. Let's say, his side chick is the one who planned it, or friends of hers are the ones who orchestrated this whole thing. And they basically said, hey, you know how we could take this to the next level is if we have Don Lemon there on scene. And make this something that gets national attention. There are protests all over Minneapolis that you and I never hear about, and in other cities that you and I never hear about. But we heard about this one. In part because it was invading a church, but in part because it was Don Lemon. And they had to have known that. So in that sense, maybe if Don Lemon says, hey, I can't make it this week, I'll go next week, they would have pushed it off a week. Likely they would have. In which case now Don Lemon is the audience or a major part of the audience. We want to get him on camera there with us while this whole thing is happening, where he becomes an integral part of this entire thing, even if he's not the original orchestrator, where the journalist becomes this part of the story. That's how I would frame it if I was trying to prosecute him. Harmeet Dillon knows all this. She's a smart attorney.
Predicates for additional federal charges.
This, in case you're unaware, is Harmeet Dillon. She is she's an attorney, a former boss of Ron Coleman. He used to work for the Dillon Law Group. She is the, I think, head of the Civil Rights Division of Trump's Civil Rights Division. So this is her baby right here.
Harmeet, I've just pulled up the Klan Act because this is the first time that I've heard this mentioned. This is a act that was passed in 18.
I did miss this. Greg Warner gifting him a Good Lawgic membership. God bless you, brother. I apologize that I missed that earlier. I should have called attention to it. Thank you.
1971, correction there, to combat the Ku Klux Klan and protect African Americans' voting rights, especially the Enforcement Act, which is known as the Force Act. So here's some of the information on screen. Would you mind breaking down for us, because we have just read the FACE Act and how this is an obscenity to the FACE Act, an obvious and egregious demonstrable violation of the FACE Act, because they were entering a place of worship, harassing and threatening. We just played a video of a bearded man, who was threatening to attack the Christians that were worshiping there. So it seems like an obvious FACE Act violation. But the Klan Act here, it is on screen. First time I've heard it mentioned. Can you unpack this for us, Harmeet?
Yeah, the Klan Act is one of the most important federal civil rights statutes, and it goes back to the time when President Lincoln emancipated the slaves, and yet the southern states, Dixiecrats mainly, were refusing to give them equal rights. And in fact, that you had sheriffs and you had law enforcement harassing the newly freed slaves. So the Klan Act is a law that makes it illegal to terrorize citizens, to violate their civil rights, to get together and conspire to violate the civil rights. It is often used against law enforcement, but is now used against others as well. So whenever anyone conspires to violate the protected civil rights of American citizens, the Klan Act can be used to bring a conspiracy charge. We, in the federal law enforcement parlance, call this 241 and 242 civil and criminal conspiracies. And so what the Biden administration did is, if three grandmas got together to pray outside an abortion clinic for the souls of the people inside, and including the unborn children, they would say, oh, that's not just a violation of the Klan Act, that's a conspiracy to violate the civil rights of women going in there to get abortions. And so we're going to add additional charges and punish that more and make it from a misdemeanor under the FACE Act to a felony under the Klan Act. And President Trump pardoned the pro-life protesters in those cases. I have recently defended successfully in the 11th Circuit a case called Oropesa, a case of Jane's Revenge, the pro-abortion protesters violently attacking crisis pregnancy centers in Florida. And we had the court uphold the Klan Act criminal enhancement to the FACE Act. So I know this is very deep in the weeds, but the point is, there are a number of things. The FACE Act is just the start. Like I said, you have material support for disruptive activities. You have conspiracy to violate civil rights. You have potentially the use of other instrumentalities to commit crimes. And so some of these folks who did this have self-identified. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility. He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism. And as if that's
committing journalism,
sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. And so, we're getting our ducks in a row. We're putting the facts together. And this is a very serious matter. Come next Sunday, nobody should think in the United States that they're going to be able to get away with this. Everyone in the protest community needs to know that the fullest force of the federal government is going to come down and prevent this from happening and put people away for a long, long time.
And that's why charges have to come quickly. This week. They need to come this week. Because people need to know you're serious. So, good on you, Harmeet. Good on you. I have more from her. This is the idiot that I was talking about earlier. I knew he was around. This jackass has to go to jail.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nakima Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. The pastor of the church is a fucking ICE leader in the city. How can you be a fucking pastor and be a fucking ICE agent? Fuck them. They want to come after me? Fuck them. How can they live so comfortably while the fucking people from Somalia that are in this country legally, that have fucking citizenship, can't even go to their mosque and pray? How do they deserve any fucking different? Fuck those fucking Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you fucking traitorous bitch. All power to the people. Yesterday.
Hopefully, this finally lights a fire under Pam. Hopefully this does. If this doesn't, what will? If this doesn't light a fire under you, Pam, if this doesn't get your keys to emotion, what will? If not this, what? He thinks she's a joke. He's not the only one. I think I got one more with Army. Oh, no. Two more with Army. This is still her with Benny. Like I said, Harmeet's she's been busy trying to reassure people that this is going to be addressed. She had sent out a tweet or a post saying the civil rights is investigating potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship. And he's asking for an update.
Can you give me an update on this post, Harmeet?
Well, yes, actually, I posted that from an airplane, and Pam Bondi and my boss, had already been in touch about this incident, what we're going to do about it. And so I'm working hand in hand with her. We have sent federal prosecutors last night from my office in DC to Minnesota. They should be landing any moment now. We activated the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office as well. And this has the highest attention of the Attorney General and my Department of Justice team, because it is, as you said in your intro, this isn't actually a question of whether we're going to stand for it. We don't stand for it in this country. And not every case that we do at the DOJ gets the headlines, but we've already prosecuted numerous attacks on churches so far in the last 9 months since I took office under Pam Bondi's leadership. We are investigating multiple attacks on synagogues. It is evil to attack any house of worship in America. It is illegal. And what I saw yesterday made me ashamed, frankly, for the United States, that we have an attorney general in Minnesota, Keith Ellison, a district attorney, Mary Moriarty, a mayor, Jacob Fry, and Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim, who absolutely refuse to enforce our state laws. Their own state laws prohibit this very conduct. Well, if they're not going to enforce their laws, we will enforce our federal laws, and we are already doing that. And so, as you know, and as people have said, the prior administration prosecuted people under the FACE Act for peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for unborn children.
And we got that part of the clip earlier, so I'm not going to review that. But that was her basically saying, "We're coming, we are coming." You know, and I see here my friend Brank is in the audience. How you doing, Andrew? I like Harmeet Dillon, but Pam was talking tough on social media for a year, and where are the perp walks and convictions? Well, like I said, between Harmeet and Harmeet being there, which I do think she does get things done, and that guy personally calling Pam Bondi out, daring her to arrest him. You gotta wonder, like, if this doesn't do it, nothing will. If this doesn't bring indictments, Nothing will. Richard Parker, that's what we got that. Hey Joe, where is Shanana? Shanana that's a reference to Lady Logic. In case you're new and we're unaware that my wife's name is Shana, and many in the chat, including Pam, refer to her as Shanana. She is sleeping, actually. She's catching up on her jet lag. So she is home, but she's sleeping. And Natter knows gifting 5 new members of the following. God bless you. I don't know if I'm still going to be able to catch this because I fell behind. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to find those people. Are you able to see that? You want to see that? I can. Look at that. All right, following 5 people when I call your name, please bear in mind that you were just gifted membership courtesy of Natter Knows. And it's appropriate if you express your gratitude to Natter Knows for bringing you into the following, which is not at all a cult type of cult. It's just a gathering of like-minded individuals who are seeking greater personal growth through community, unity, learning, and thinking. And part of that personal growth is the recognition that someone does something, a nice turn for you, that you express your gratitude. So, and if you hear your name called out, please make sure, if you have not already expressed your gratitude to Natter Knows, that you do so as promptly as possible. And that includes you, Mama Pillow, as well as Sahanist, Greg Warrener, who not only expressed his appreciation, but gifted one of his own, and Red Alert, as well as G. Sharkman. Welcome to the following. Please bear in mind that I am not at all the leader of the following. I'm just the host. So there is that. James Z. O. Jimbo. Donnie Lemon's talent agent would never let this happen without their permission. Yeah, this was definitely orchestrated. Foolishly, but this was definitely an orchestrated thing. There was some planning that went in here. I'm reaching a Bondi's position, in my honest opinion. I'm totally on board with you. I have a lot more confidence in Harmeet than I have in Pam Bondi. Thanks for trying to view the video. Good to prompt the chauffeur again to go. We have indeed reached our goal. God bless you, fine people. It's too many. In fact, I think this is a good thing. That's for the goal. You bring us to the goal. That's going to be it. We're going to use that for reaching our goal. We have reached our goal, which means that I'm going to do an after show wherein I'm going to be doing on Rumble and for our diggers on locals and on followers. So that's what I said I'm going to do. So that's what we're going to do. Where I'm going to be streaming out talking about Eric Kirk's motion to expedite the trial of Tyler Robinson, which was a fascinating thing to me. It's a fascinating thing, and it's a really interesting thing. The idea that a widow could have an impact on the scheduling. We're going to talk and we're going to assess what the difference would likely be depending on whether or not this motion is granted with respect to the expedition of this whole thing. And what sort of timing we could be looking at with it being expedited versus not being expedited, and the philosophical underpinnings as to whether or not this is something that should be a right. It's a right that we're going to see is in some states, not in others, and it does seem it's potentially available to Erica Kirk in Utah. So we're going to look at that. And that's going to be in our after show, which I urge you to join me either here, wherever you are here, which could be the ghetto. But it's going to be a separate stream. I'm going to be setting up a separate stream, but that separate stream is going to be for diggers and followers and in Rumble. And I'm going to link you before I get on out of here. So I'm going to have to pause for like a minute or two, just setting it up, the Erica Kirk thing. We got this. Cars mentioned, do you see about Josh Shapiro's vetting for VP? I did see something on that where he thought there was like some serious anti-Semitism in the sense that because he was Jewish, they had like real serious issues with him about his potential stance on the war in Gaza. Like that became a much bigger factor because of the fact that he was Jewish. That was in his opinion. that became like a much bigger deal. And I actually saved a link on that, which I was thinking about covering, but then there was just too much to talk about. This Don Lemon story, I was like, I know this is going to blow up my whole show, which it has. I haven't even gotten to my other two topics yet. And I have an after show. So I got stuff going on here. Dylan says, federal holiday, hard to get federal judge to sign an arrest warrant. Okay. But were January 6th protests or prosecution similarly reasonably delayed? Well, tomorrow's not a federal holiday, so I guess we'll see soon, right? We'll see soon. The excuses aren't going to last through the week, so we'll see. If right-wingers hit mosque and start hurling bacon strips around, pretty sure there'd be no delay in arrest and prosecution on their facing KKK acts. True. You're right. Now, the point that Andrew's making here is that the one religion which seems to just take it in the face all the time is Christianity. Meaning that they get the least legal, they seem to be afforded the least legal protections by our government. Far less so than Judaism or Islam. It's true. Hamid said they need warrants from a federal judge. You should be able to get them tomorrow. They had all day today to work on it, right? So, they should be able to get them tomorrow. And here's the thing: I know that they know that MAGA is watching them very closely on this. So I think it will come this week. I do think we'll see it. Gene, welcome to YouTube member status. God bless you. Matthew Felty also becoming a new YouTube member. God bless you, brother. J.H. Schwalbeck. Sorry, Joe. I don't see anything happening on this. Where would you find a judge that would prosecute Limon in Minnesota? So I'm going to tell you this. Federal court, you're much more likely to get a better rounded jury than you would in the city of Minneapolis. Some than you would in the county of Hennepin for the state of Minnesota. Because they tend to be drawing from a much larger pool of people. So people who are not living in Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's possible that they can be dragged in from northern Minnesota. So you're much more likely to get a more rounded pool of people in federal court. And depending on which judges are, the judges are a roll of dice, right? Judges are a roll of dice. Sometimes you get a Chutkin, sometimes you get an Eileen Cannon. They're really a roll of dice. It's not purely by, because Eileen Cannon's in Florida. Trust me, I'm sure there's some terrible judges in Florida, and there are probably some good judges in Minnesota. It seems to be hard to find a decent judge in Washington, I'll give you that. But I would not write this off as being like, he's going to walk because of the jurisdiction. If it was in state court, yeah, I would think that it'd be a harder thing to do. Also, I don't think Don Lemon is quite as endeared. I don't think he's quite as endeared. And this cause is not quite as endeared. I understand your cynicism and you're right to be cynical because of how much partisanship seems to be playing far too significant a role in our judicial system. But you know what? That judge ended up getting hit on the worst charge for obstructing. And, she's in a state court, in Milwaukee. So I think it's possible that if you're not a real celebrity, and I don't think Don Lemon is a real celebrity. I think he's like a C-level celebrity. When I break down levels of celebrities, right? When I break down levels of celebrities, I think the fairest way to break this down, I've done this in the past, and I'll explain it to you, those of you who are new, when I say a C-level celebrity, okay? So an A-level celebrity is someone who everyone knows who they are. And if you say such a big celebrity that if you're talking to a friend of your at a party, you'll throw their name out, and you'll be positive that they're going to know who that person is. So when I say celebrity, it doesn't have to be like a movie star. It could be like, you know, a sports athlete or whatever, but someone who the public knows. So like, you know, obviously Donald Trump is an A-level celebrity. I guess, you know, so would Putin be, and Zelensky. They would be A-level celebrities, as would Tom Cruise, as would, you know, as would Shohei Ohtani. You sort of like, you really don't know who that is. And even with Shohei Ohtani, because it's sport related, you might say some people might not know who that is. But, you know, you're sort of expecting, hey, people are going to know this. People are going to know this person. That's an A-level celebrity. Right? Everyone knows who Paul McCartney is. That's an A-level celebrity. A B-level celebrity is someone who you think that the person you're talking to is probably going to know who they are, but you're not positive. You're not positive. So a B-level celebrity would be someone who you're just like, okay, this guy is a starting, let's say a starting pitcher on the Yankees, who's not like a superstar. You know, or like a B-level celebrity. Think of the celebrity status. Like AOC is probably like an A-level, right? A Lindsey Graham is probably more like a B-level type of thing as far as how well known they are. Just on a celebrity thing, you're like, really? You don't know who Lindsey Graham is? You'd be like, you'll sometimes come across people who don't know who they are, but when that happens, you're surprised. Right? So an A-level celebrity, everyone knows who they are. A B-level celebrity, you expect that people are going to know who they are, but every once in a while you'll come across people who it's like they'll be like, who's that? And you'll be like, oh, okay, you don't know who that is? Okay, so you're not like shocked. You're not like blown away by it. That's a B-level celebrity. A C-level celebrity is someone who, when you throw the name out, you think it's 50-50 that they're going to know who the person is. A good B-level celebrity is probably like a Ben Shapiro. Right? You sort of think everyone's going to know who they are, but you're going to come across people and be like, who? And when that happens, you wouldn't be like shocked that the person doesn't know who they are. It's like, okay. A C-level celebrity in my industry here would be like a Benny Johnson. That's someone who you're like, I think you know who he is. Maybe he's 50-50. Maybe a Tim Pool. You know? That's a C-level. It's like, I think you're going to know, but, you know, depending on the environment. A D-level celebrity is someone who you don't think that people are going to know who they are. You do not think that people will know who they are. But you're not shocked when you find out that, you know, you throw the name out and people will be like, oh yeah, sure, I know who that is. So Don Lemon, I would say, is somewhere between, is probably like a C, right? He's probably like a C. So like a D-level is someone like you don't really, it's like, you know, your local weather girl, right? It's like, you may know, our local weather girl, but it's like, you know, when people don't know, you're not at all surprised. An E-level celebrity. So that's by the way, I put Andrew Branca here, where it's like, if you just go up to a stranger, you throw Andrew Branca's name out there, you'd be like, you're not expecting, but sometimes they'll be like, yeah. Then you have an E-level celebrity. That's you throw their name out and no one knows who they are. That's me. What makes them an E-level celebrity is that to some people out there, look at them as if they're a celebrity. So that's where I put myself. There are some people out there I know who look at me as I'm a celebrity, even though I know I'm not. And if you throw my name out at anyone who's not sitting in my audience, they'll be like, who? Who? What? Who is that? Really? That's E. So I look at Branca as Branca's moved up to like D. Yeah. I'm E. So there you go. And the only reason it's considered celebrity at all is because you find people like have expressed an interest in like actually like meeting me, you know? So I guess that's some level of celebrityhood. Anyhow, so Don Lemon, who I'm saying falls as a C, I don't know people bending over backwards for this guy. I don't know. So that's I'm trying to give you a heart, J.H. Schwalbeck. I'm trying to give you a heart. I don't know people bending over backwards for this guy. One person's not bending over backwards for him is Nicki Minaj.
So people have been asking me about responding to Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj, who posted out there, Don, the chicken sucking lemon is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up.
Minaj's unhinged, homophobic tweet about me. I usually don't respond to this stuff, but let me just say this. Nicki Minaj, stop talking about shit for which you know nothing about. This is you're out of your depth.
You're out of your depth. You don't know what the hell, you don't know freedom of assembly, the right of assembly is. You don't understand First Amendment rights. You're out of your depth. You're out of your depth as far as how to deal with people in a social atmosphere that isn't purposefully cringe and invasive and rude. You're the one who's out of your depth.
By the way, and you are a homophobic bigot. You don't care about African Americans. You're not an African American. From what I know, you are.
I don't know what makes someone an African American. If Nicki Minaj is not an African American, Nicki Minaj is probably a B. Maybe she's an A-level celebrity because I don't follow today's music at all, and I even heard of Nicki Minaj.
Are reportedly an undocumented citizen, so you should be deported under Donald Trump's rules.
He's just like making up whatever he can to attack her.
And the other thing is that your family members, you have one family member who is reportedly a sex offender, the other family member, your husband or whatever, a sex offender is your husband, and one of them is reportedly a pedophile. And you have nerve to talk about me?
He's just throwing it all out there. He's just throwing it all out there. He's just this way, and he knows enough. He has enough experience as a journalist to know to throw out qualifiers like reportedly, supposedly, and then say them as if they're fact. But he's clearly very triggered here.
And
you're so triggered. You're so triggered.
What you think that I do? Nicki Minaj. Get a life.
So triggered.
Stop being a pick-me. You should have put a pick-me doll on that damn tweet instead of a Chucky doll because you are nothing but a pick-me. And I choose not to pick you. And so should black people and so should gay people. Shouldn't buy your music. Clock that.
So triggered. Ooh, he's mad. Oh, he's feisty now. He's feisty now. That moment when Joe equates Christianity with takes it in the face. Cut down the... Okay. How did we get there? How did we get there? How did we get there? If he's bending over in the context of Don Lemon, it is Don Lemon. This is true. Oh, I said I there's nothing I can't say that this man won't twist. The other thing I'll point out, because I think what JH here is raising is a point that a lot of people have. Just to put a little bow on my thoughts about the likelihood of him getting conviction. Is it tougher to get it in an urban place? Yeah, of course it's tougher against a Democrat than against a Republican, especially in the better known they are, the tougher it is. Not all Democrats are the same type of Democrat. You can't compare a DC or a New York Democrat to a Minneapolis Democrat. It's not the same. It's really not. Hard times will start making strong men. Well, hopefully, we need a lot more strong. I shouldn't have him up on screen when I say that. I had two more clips here. These are the two people, Don Lemon and this chick here, his friends, are the two who are most likely to be charged.
I'm not sure if he was in violation unless he was part of it. Is it? I mean, do you go after the journalist that's...
In case you're not watching, this is Glenn Beck. In case you're just in audio mode and you're falling asleep to the dulcet tones. So So this is Glenn Beck on the phone with Harmeet Dillon. He's playing an images from Don Lemon's recording of the invasion of the church.
Reporting it, or do you view him as something that was not just reporting it?
Okay, well, I'm going to reserve comment on that specific fact pattern, but let's just take a hypothetical, okay? A hypothetical where a podcaster, once a news anchor, is deciding that...
And we'll just call this this podcaster in the hypothetical Ron Mellon. Okay, so Ron Mellon, who's a former journalist, failed journalist, becomes a podcaster. Okay.
He's learning of a crime in progress. It's a bank robbery. Okay, and he's friends with.
And I heard this clip before, and I was like, I don't know if this is the best. I don't know if this is the best analogy that she's drawing, but it's good enough, and I'll try to tweak it a little better for her. She's doing it on the fly here.
The bank robbers, and he sympathizes with them because he agrees with what they're going to spend the money on. So the bank robbers call him because they'd like some PR because they think what they're doing is great, whatever. And you decide to go along, and you know that the group of people you're with are breaking into a building and they're going to commit a crime inside, and then you're going to stream it inside. That fact pattern is much more dubious than how you put it. And so I think we're investigating our facts.
And better than a bank robber would be someone who's looking to defraud the public, right? So someone who's looking to defraud the public is like a protester is looking for attention, because the more eyeballs, the more people you can defraud. So someone who says, "Hey, I know what you're doing, and I'll let you use my platform for that," is now emboldening and helping this person commit fraud. Now, he's arguably not helping. He's probably encouraging people to come to the protest, people who are nearby, who may not be engaged in the protest. You know, when they see where it is, someone down the street who is sympathetic to their retarded cause is likely to come down there and join in the fun of destroying a church service. So, so some jackass may have joined in on the fray. But it's also that he's motivating them more directly. He's motivating them to get even wilder and crazier because they know they're on camera. They know that this is their moment in the sun, that they're getting attention that they do not normally get. So by going there, he is making the situation infinitely worse. And that's something that it's foreseeable that you're going to be making the situation worse. That people, when they come in front of his cameras, are going to be screaming even louder. They're motivated. They're instigated by him being there with the audience and the access to an audience that they do not normally have. These are folks who are run-of-the-mill, losers who are desperate for attention and looking for the whole world to see how important and significant they are. And suddenly, Don Lemon is providing them with access to an audience that they do not normally have. So how would one believe that that's not encouraging them to take their level of protest into insane level towards traumatizing a little kid in church? This is all predictable. This is all stuff that anyone who spent 10 seconds in any sort of celebrity's capacity, even as an E-level celebrity, should be able to foresee. So when Don Lemon is going there, he has to realize that, hey, his presence there is going to be ratcheting it up. In fact, even in his little clip there, he was talking about how his presence there, questioning his own person on camera, as to how his presence there would influence the reaction to him. But clearly it's going to be influencing also. Your presence is having an influence on the scenario there. So that when you go in there, that it's going to be influencing almost certainly. You have to be an idiot, which he is an idiot, but this is a level of idiocy that even he would surpass, to not realize that you are motivating these bad actors to act all the more terribly. That's what he's doing by bringing his audience to that. Live streaming it. So that's what Harmeet Dillon is getting at here. And much as someone who's looking to defraud the public wants to get eyeballs, so the a person who has celebrity name value would motivate them to, amplify what they're doing. So too, I think that one can say that Don Lemon being there is amplifying the negative outcome of this entire scenario. And he should realize that.
Mr. Lemon has put several hours of video on the internet yesterday saying a variety of things. And I would, if I were his lawyer, I would probably say, that maybe you should lawyer up before you do things like this. But yeah, I have
to tell you, I just have to make an aside here. Harmeet, for anybody who doesn't know who Harmeet Dillon really is, that would have put the fear of God in me. If I were Don Lemon and I heard Harmeet Dillon say that, I'd be like, holy cow, I'm going to prison, because she does not mess around. But it's good.
He did see some of my tweets, and he responded to them yesterday in a video, mispronouncing my name and laughing and saying, this is the First Amendment, people. Look, I have actually litigated this. I've represented, as you know, Glenn, a number of conservative journalists over the years, including pro-life journalists. I will say, as an aside, Kamala Harris had no problem prosecuting a pro-life journalist, David DeLayden, for exposing Planned Parenthood's fetal part trafficking. The United States Department of Justice under Merrick Garland had no problem prosecuting multiple January 6th protesters who had their cameras out and were filming and claimed journalistic privileges. Exactly. Yeah. So
I don't want to become that. So there you go. So that's Harmeet Dillon on that. And I want to close this out with a thought from another church leader and what he said in church. So I think this is the best way to close this topic out. I'll just make sure I didn't miss anything to ghetto. I haven't looked there in a minute. It's been a minute. Matt Reese says, I think Harmeet is great, but I want to see more action, less interviews. Bondi is on TV all the time, but keeps dropping the ball. Well, I think she figured there was limited activity that she could engage in, on Martin Luther King Day. So maybe that's why she had as much time as she did to be on TV. I must stop responding to this gal. Don? Which gal? Which gal are we talking about? I'm not sure who you're referring to. Not sure who you're referring to there, Richard. So I want to close out with this gentleman here. Does he have a name? No. We don't get a name, but this is shared by Gunther Eagleman.
Today in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of Cities Church during their worship time. They were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching, because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act. And not only do we condemn this act, but tonight I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly. We must protect religious liberty in this country. As people meet to worship God, they have been given legally the right to enter, to worship, and to leave their place of worship. The Lord Jesus said, in the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. I have preached for many years that there will come a time when we'll find out who are Christians by label and by convenience, and who are Christians by conviction. And certainly we're
hoping to see a great deal of conviction in every sense of the term. So there you go. I'll keep you updated if and when indictments drop on any of the offenders, which hopefully, which certainly cannot come soon enough. All right. Because you guys were so generous, by the way, not only did we beat our goal, but in the add-on show, I plan on sharing with you a bunch of FAFO moments from Minnesota and around the globe. So I had a whole bunch of them that I was planning on throwing in here. The Don Lemon story really took over and didn't enable me time to really get on that. So I have a whole bunch of FAFO moments that I definitely want to cover with you. This Kirk, yeah. All right. I'm going to cover very quickly the Gavin Newsom thing. I just thought this was kind of awesome and looking forward to a lot more on this. This is the Gavin Newsom in California owing $1 billion because they've been siphoning your money, federal funds, illegally. Remember when everyone told us, why are you complaining about medical health related costs for illegal aliens? They're not eligible. They're not getting any money. They're not getting any money. They're not getting any money. They're not getting any of your money. It's state funds. It's state funds. It's not your money. It's state funds, as if you don't live in their state, right? Or as if like it's my state funds. I'm in Jersey. Tell me, illegal aliens aren't getting funded by my state funds? Well, it's not just state funds.
Battle brewing in California. The Trump administration says the state owes the federal government more than $1 billion for health care given to illegal immigrants. William Lajeunesse has a story from L.A. Hi, William.
Well, Dana, there are two stories here, right? One is how rising costs have forced blue states to roll back health care for those without legal status. The other is the White House crackdown on eligibility. If states can't confirm those getting care are U.S. citizens, they have to pay the feds back.
We are auditing aggressively, and we don't like what we see.
In March, the Trump administration began auditing states that provide illegal immigrants with routine health care paid for by American taxpayers. Their findings, 7 states and the District of Columbia owe nearly $1.4 billion for using federal, not state money for immigrant care.
One of which, of the 1.4, 1.3 is in California. If you look at that little chart there, what they found so far, it's like, okay, New York's got 30 million, Illinois 29 million, 12 million, 1.3 billion. Oh my God. 1.3 billion.
$1 billion for using federal, not state money for immigrant care. Topping the list, California, followed by New York and Illinois.
In California, we've already identified about $1.3 billion of federal dollars spent to take care of illegal immigrants.
Under the law, states can only use federal money for migrants' emergency care.
When you come for elective hernia operations or dental cleaning, that's not going to be paid for by the federal taxpayer. It's not right. You don't want folks in one state paying for people in another state without them knowing about it and voting for it.
California says claims it did anything wrong are, quote, flatly false, saying the state routinely reimburses the feds.
Universal health care for all, regardless of pre-existing condition, regardless of the ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status.
Insanity. Regardless of your immigration status. Just give universal health care to the entire planet. Jackass.
After extending care to its entire undocumented population, rising costs forced California to impose premiums and stop accepting new patients. Other states facing rollbacks, Colorado, Illinois, and Minnesota, either cutting subsidies or dropping adults altogether.
It was cruelty dressed as fiscal responsibility. There is no other outcome for when you take away people's health care.
So there are two ways to see this. Some argue that immigrants are here, most work, and it's cheaper to pay for their care under Medicaid than the emergency room. Others say, stop the handout. If American taxpayers can't afford the insurance, why should they pay for it for someone else? That's a debate going on in each state. Dana?
We might hear about this later on the 5 as
So, yes, I thought that you all should be aware that California, when next time you hear claims of, hey, we don't pay for the federal government doesn't pay for illegal aliens' health care. Yeah, we're not supposed to. We ain't supposed to. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Where is the other thing that I wanted for you guys here? I can just pull up. I can pull up my own little thing. I wanted to cover that third story and start working towards my after show. I didn't think we were going to make it tonight. Honestly, I really didn't think we are going to make it, and you guys just shattered it. You shocked
Today in
me.
Minneapolis.
All right, let's go to. Nah, I'll tell you. I'm not sure why he's addressing this to Norway. Other than the relationship between Norway and Denmark, I assume that they have a very strong, close relationship. Greenland is owned by Denmark. But this was sent to the leader of Norway by Donald Trump. And this is a perfect illustration of everything Trump and why he is the greatest leader we could ever hope for on international foreign affairs. This man is amazing. And the left saw this and were freaking out. So angry at him. And I'm like, no, this is the genius of Donald Trump. This is awesome and hilarious. Dear Jonas, this is a letter he sent to Norway's leader. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it would always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Why didn't you give me a peace prize? I don't understand. I stopped 8 wars plus. Where were you? Where were you? How do you not give me a peace prize? I don't understand this. None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. Why would you not be giving me a peace prize? That's such a dumb move. It's such a dumb move. Denmark cannot protect the land from Russia, China. What do they have? Why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago. But we had boats landing there also. So what are you talking about? So you had boats there. You had boats there. We had boats there. Who's to say? You had some boats. We had some boats. We all had some boats. Everyone had boats. Everyone was traveling by boats. You can't use a horse. There was no planes. Everyone's using boats. You had some boats there. We had some boats there. Why is it yours? I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. Step on up. Go talk to your good friends over there. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. I like how he capitalizes complete and total control. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald John Trump. So they're all up in arms, freaking out. Can you believe he has the audacity to say we're going to war with, this is how they read it. We're going to war with, this is how a leftist reads this. You didn't give me a Nobel Peace Prize, so I'm going to war. I'm going to invade your sovereign nation, and I'm going to send in there 500,000 troops and be bombing the hell out of your country because you didn't give me a peace prize. That's how the left reads this. That's how the left reads it. It's not how I read it. So I understand how Trump speaks. I understand what he means. So I'm going to tell you what he's actually saying here in this brilliant, only Trump could ever write this type of letter. And why it's so dominant and spot on. Everything, every word of this, including his outrage over not getting a peace prize. Because he He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize more than any person who's ever won a Nobel Peace Prize. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. This guy brought peace in the Middle East in his first term and has put an end to one war after another in his second term. And they don't even seriously. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's an intentional slap in his face, which if you don't like him on a personal level, that's fine. But here's the thing. He is America's leader. Some recognition of him for his title really is warranted, particularly when he engages in merit that generates a recognition. So while the folks who give out the Nobel Peace Prize is some private entity, no doubt they are swayed by the Norwegian government. They're from Norway. There's no doubt that the Norwegian government has significant impact in their decision-making process. So he's basically like, F you. You should have come to me and basically been kissing my butt. That's what you should have been. That's what you should have been doing. That would have been like the smart thing to do. That's essentially what he's like. He's like, what would have been the smart thing to do is to recognize that, hey, this guy really is a helpful person. But instead, you're basically treating me like I'm a pariah, which is stupid. It's just stupid. Yeah, I understand it sounds petty because he's talking about how you should have treated me a certain way. But the reality is this. Historically, kings and leaders have been recognized if they ever do anything remotely positive. And he has done one positive thing after another. And he happens to be not just the leader of a country, but a leader of the country that is the most dominant superpower in the world. How stupid do you have to be to basically say, no, F you still? It used to be, decades ago, centuries ago, people appreciated or had respect for world leaders. Now, that has largely dissipated, not simply in America, but throughout the world. The lack of the respect, we don't have the respect for kings and leaders that was once regarded to those of status. You can consider that a good thing. You can consider it a terrible thing. But we certainly don't have the same level of respect that we used to have. It's not even close. So what he's essentially saying, as I read it, is there's a lot of reasons you should have given me that Nobel Peace Prize, and you didn't, which was kind of stupid. It was kind of stupid of you. So I'm going to basically be fixating on America first. And when I'm fixating on America first, I got to ask myself, what's in America's interest? And America's interest, frankly, the whole world's interest, is if we have complete and total control of Greenland. And let's face it, Denmark can't protect it from Russia or China. None of you can. We're the only ones who can protect it. So why do you guys have right of ownership? What makes the claim of Denmark or any other European nation so great on this nation if you can't hold it? So someone's going to take it from them. Someone's going to take it from them. That's terrible for everyone. So we really need complete and total control here. And I've been taking care of NATO. So put pressure on them to basically pony up here and figure out a way that is going to end up as a territory of the United States of America. That's essentially what he's saying. Now, the reason I think this is brilliant is you put yourself in their position. I do think that they may start showing him some more respect. And if they're showing him respect, that's helpful and beneficial to America. I understand he's the direct beneficiary of it. But basically, it's a respect for you. When they disrespect Donald Trump, they are disrespecting you, not you simply as a supporter of Donald Trump, but they are disrespecting you as an American. When Biden was our president, we all looked at him as for the joke that he was, and he was. And we looked at him with shame and humiliation. Why is there shame and humiliation? Because we understand that he's the person who's standing up as the leader of our country, and he's a doddering old fool. He's corrupt and a terrible human being. So we know the world looks at that and looks at him with disdain. So there's a certain humiliation we have there. Because we do still remember that he's our leader. and its reflection on us. So when you're showing a disrespect for him, you're basically disrespecting us. And when they're showing disrespect for Donald Trump, irrespective of his actual achievement, irrespective of his genuine accomplishments that would make any other world leader blush on the international stage. If you list off just item by item as to his accomplishments in bringing peace and stability and how he's not lost a single soldier that he'd ever deployed. Whenever he sent anyone out, it's been for a couple hours and come right back home. Everyone come home safe. Whether it's drones in the Caribbean or Iran or missions to pick up Maduro, thank God. Or Soleimani. One case after another, to the extent he's ever been involved in deployment. I know that we have unfortunately had a loss of some American soldiers here or there. In Syria, a couple people died. Those are not deployments he made. Those were ongoing deployments. He's never sent out troops and then had to read about their deaths. That's a remarkable achievement for someone who has been as influential and dominant on the world stage as Donald Trump has been. Where he's made the entire globe a better place. In one instance after another, where other countries are recognizing him. Other world leaders recognize him, but not the hoity-toity EU. So to hell with them and what they think and what they like. And our great allies in NATO, who we've been carrying for decades. To hell with them. And he's basically saying, it's in your best interest. Make sure you put the pressure on them. You should have tried to, massage me. It would have been a smart move. You didn't. It was stupid. And he's right. Every word he wrote here, spot on right. And that's why I say we will never have another world leader who is as amazing at handling international affairs as Donald Trump. We'll be lucky if any of his successors are 1/4 as talented and capable as he is at this. And I don't care what side of the aisle, even J.D. Vance. I wish for J.D. Vance to be 1/4 as successful as he is, assuming he wins, assuming he ends up being a successor. So there's that. J.H. Schwabek saying, Branka, just come on the show. You're the jelly to Joe's peanut butter. Step up, brother. He came into the audience late, and I was like trying to wrap up the show, so I wasn't gonna do that. I wasn't gonna do that. But that's why I sort of held this, because I was like, I love hanging out with Andrew, but I got a lot of work to do. And if I get sidetracked by him, God help me, I'll be here for 5 hours tonight. So the stories don't rock, Joe. You do. Thank you. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you, brother. Read my letter to Denmark, Joe. I can't. I'm at 2.5 hours, and I have to set up an after show now. Come on. You can't put me in that spot there, brother. Brian Oldenkamp gifting 10 new members of the following as he recognizes that we're coming near the end. We're coming down to the wire here, and we're going to be having a Diggers and Followers show coming up soon. And he's like, let's get them in here. Let's get them in here. Let's see who you brought on in, who hopefully be able to join us in the next show. By the way, I will tell you that first, if you haven't yet, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. That would be very kind of you. That'd be that'd be, as they say, mighty whitey, yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say is that it is going to be for Diggers and Followers. But please bear in mind that as well as the ghetto, I'm going to be sending out to Rumble also. We said we're going to do that tonight. See? Show some love to the ghetto. Cup of Soothe. Welcome to the following. Please, when you hear your name, make sure you express your gratitude to Brian Oldenkamp, who's bringing you on in. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say about the follow-up show. So far, every time I've done an exclusive show, it gets basically blocked by YouTube. So I don't know what's going to happen here with this follow-up show, if it's going to get blocked. I'm just saying, try to catch it live. So the following 10 people brought into the following courtesy of Brian Oldenkamp. That would include you, Cup of Soothe, as well as Adelion. We're going to call it Adelion. Charcharte. As well as Michelle Zippo, Ozzy Mama, Master Debater. Look at that. Gifted Master Debater. J. Marco 78, Richard Wharton, McRickens, and Rude Dog 62. Welcome to the following. Please bear in mind that the following is not at all a cult type of cult. There's no spaceships. There's no Kool-Aid. There's no throwing virgins into volcanoes or goat sacrifices or squirrel mutilations or dancing around bonfires in the middle of the forest to the beat of a tom-tom while shucking off your clothing. There's mild farm work. There's no zoning in to the ether. It's not at all a cult type of cult. So welcome. It's 2 minutes, Joe. God. I'm really too nice. I'm too nice. They say, don't do this. You're too nice. Joe, you're too nice. What are you doing? What are you doing? All right. I'm way too nice. All right. He asked me to read the letter just because we love Richard. This is what he wrote, the Prime Minister. Dear Prime Minister and citizens of Denmark, the United States has repeatedly stated that Greenland's strategic position is vital to the security of North America, NATO, and the free world in the face of growing threats from Russia and China. This is not a polite request. It is a strategic requirement for the stability of the West. There is no American plans to attack Denmark or Greenland, nor to break NATO. However, American control over the strategic lands of Greenland are required to secure the freedoms of the Western Alliance. We can get that control without firing a single shot or breaking a single treaty if you let us. We're coming in anyway, quietly, and it will be impossible for anyone to stop us, so let's make a deal. Denmark keeps its dignity, America gets its watchtower, and Russia and China stay in the cold where they belong. With respect and urgency, an American citizen, Richard Parker. Pretty good letter. I like it. Pretty good letter. Well done, brother. Well done. All right. I promised I was going to set up this stream before I got on out of here, and I am. So let me do that. This way I can link you. This way I can link you. Okay, so first let me set up the live stream here. Okay, this is Eric Kirk application. Expedite trial of Tyler Robinson. And live stream description is what? Can she do that? There you go. And I'm going to set this up to start in 10 minutes. 10 minutes at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Schedule. All right. This is the local. I'm going to give you all the locals link, but I am going to share it out to the diggers and to the followers in YouTube and to the ghetto of Rumble. Although I should warn you, ghetto followers, if I actually do ever figure out how to restrict it to subscribers, I'm gonna do that. That would be ideal. That's the way you're supposed to do these things, Joe. That's the way it's supposed to be happening. After show. All right. So I just shared the link to that locals over in YouTube, sharing it now over here in Rumble. I'm going to pin that message there. I have to still set up the link. Not cool. Not cool. Not cool at all. God damn you, this spaceship was so not cool. I meant to pin that, which I didn't, but we'll do that now. Put it in the description. All right. Now I need to set up the links on Rumble and whatever. So I'm going to close. I'm going to land my plane pretty quickly over here on the regular show, so I can set up the links for Rumble and YouTube. So as far as everything else, God willing, I hope to be back here tomorrow evening. Until then, make sure that you remember lab meat was never meant for you. It's not meant for you. Stay away from the friggin' lab meat and do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to catch you all in the after show. It's starting at 1 a.m. Eastern time. The rest of you, good night. Thank you for joining me. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and Godspeed.